Welcome to this explainer. Honestly, I am beyond excited for today's topic because we are looking at an absolute heavyweight title fight in the world of developer tooling. In one corner, we have the undisputed reigning champion of code editors, Visual Studio Code. And in the other corner, the incredibly fast AI-native challenger that is completely shaking up the industry, Cursor AI. We're going to break down exactly what makes these two editors tick, how to set them up for maximum productivity, and ultimately, which one actually deserves to be your daily driver. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The code editor revolution. 2. Setting up Cursor AI. 3. Mastering AI code context. 4. Cursor versus VS Code. And 5. The final verdict.
Section 1. The code editor revolution.
To really appreciate this clash, we first need to understand the massive shift happening in developer tooling right now. For over a decade, Visual Studio Code has been the undisputed default, right? But artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing what we expect from an editor. Think of it like this. In VS Code, AI is basically the passenger. You install extensions like GitHub Copilot, and they just ride along, offering helpful suggestions inside the editor you already know. But in Cursor, AI is the driver. Cursor is actually a fork of VS Code, meaning it feels super familiar, but the entire editor has been architected from the ground up with AI at the steering wheel. It's not just bolted on, it's the foundation of the whole shebang.
And because of this deep integration, Cursor has seen just rapid adoption. It is quietly converting developers who simply tried out for a few days into developers who literally cannot imagine going back to their old setup. That is a massive statement. It sets incredibly high stakes for why this shift matters and why we really need to understand how to properly wield this new kind of tool.
Moving on to Section 2, Setting up Cursor AI. So if Cursor is this powerful AI-native challenger, how do we properly prepare it for the ring? Getting the most out of an AI editor requires a slightly different setup process. It basically involves 4 crucial phases. First, you download and install it, just like any other app. Second, you open an existing project, and this is key. It works best when connected to a real code base. Third, you configure your AI models, maybe choosing between Claude or GPT-4 depending on your preferences or the specific task. But step 4 is where the magic happens, indexing the codebase. Cursor uses Advanced Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, to index your entire project locally. It doesn't just read the file you have open, it actually understands the deep semantic relationships between your front-end components, your back-end routes, and your database schema. That index is literally what gives Cursor its formidable power. Once you're indexed, these are the immediate weapons you should start using to instantly speed up your workflow. You have inline editing. Just hit Command-K to highlight code and prompt for changes directly. You have codebase-aware chat, where you can ask something like, hey, how does authentication work here? And it actually knows. Then there's multi-file refactoring, which is an absolute game changer for large architectural shifts, and debugging assistance, where you can just paste an error and ask for the fix.
Section 3. Mastering AI code context.
Now, having the tools is really only half the battle. Did you know that according to a recent developer survey, developers waste an average of 23% of their AI interaction time just explaining context? Yeah, almost a quarter of your time spent telling the AI about your stack, your patterns, and your rules. We need to stop treating our AI like a forgetful junior developer every time we open a new session. The absolute best way to solve this is through a file called .cursor rules. This is a simple text file that lives right in your project root. Think of it as the AI's permanent instruction manual. It automatically injects your project's DNA into every single AI interaction. It tells the AI who you are, what the tech stack is, and exactly what coding conventions to follow, so you never have to repeat yourself.
Now, what's really interesting here is understanding exactly where to put your rules. You have your project-specific .cursor rules file. Now, this should be committed to version control and shared with your entire team, so everyone gets the exact same AI behavior for the project. On the other hand, you have global settings rules inside the editor itself. That is where you put your own personal preferences, like if you personally prefer explicit types or if you're a stickler for always requiring semicolons. To take this a step further, and honestly, this is a brilliant insider tip, advanced users are building what's called a memory bank architecture. This is basically a structured external brain folder in your project that stores project context, progress history, architectural decisions, and technical specs. By pointing your .cursor rules file to this memory bank, you ensure the AI remains perfectly aligned with your long-term architectural decisions over months of development. It is incredibly powerful.
Okay, Section 4. Cursor versus VS Code. Time for the main event. We know how to set up Cursor, but how does it actually compare?
Let's throw both of these heavyweight editors into the ring for a ruthless, data-backed comparison to see where they each shine. First up, let's look at the financial tail of the tape. GitHub Copilot is aggressively priced at just $10 a month for the Pro tier. That is exactly half the cost of Cursor's $20 a month Pro tier. So for budget-conscious developers or large teams scaling up to enterprise, Copilot's pricing structure is undeniably attractive. Both do offer a free tier with a baseline of 2,000 completions, but when you step up to paid, Copilot is significantly cheaper.
But let's look at performance, right? This is a critical metric from recent SW bench testing. When tested on these tasks, Copilot actually solved slightly more tasks overall. However, the developers using Cursor executed their tasks a massive 30% faster. That speed difference is huge. It means more experiments per hour, which ultimately compounds into shipping code much faster over a week or a month.
Let's see how this builds into their agentic capabilities, because this is the real battleground. Cursor brings Composer 2, featuring an explicit autonomy slider. It is purpose-built and best-in-class for heavy, multi-file refactoring where you want to watch the AI plan and execute across your whole codebase. Copilot Agent Mode, on the other hand, really shines with its GitHub-native workflow. You can just assign it a GitHub issue and it can autonomously plan, code, and test in a cloud sandbox, creating a PR for you asynchronously. It's a completely different philosophy. Cursor is for deep, real-time collaboration, while Copilot is amazing for seamless asynchronous delegation.
Finally, Section 5, the final verdict. We've seen the setups, we've seen the data, and we've weighed the features. So, which one is best? Well, it entirely depends on your specific environment and workflow. Let's summarize the undeniable strengths of the reigning champion. You should absolutely stick with VS Code and GitHub Copilot if you rely on other IDEs like JetBrains or NeoVim, since Copilot supports them and Cursor just doesn't. You should also stick with it if your organization needs strict, documented enterprise compliance and IP indemnity. If your team lives heavily inside GitHub issues and PR workflows, Copilot's native integration is unbeatable. And finally, if you are budget conscious, $10 a month for Copilot is an incredible value for sure.
So, the crucial point is, who should switch? Well, you should switch to Cursor if you are an AI maximalist who wants the absolute deepest AI integration possible. If you regularly do heavy multi-file refactoring and architectural changes, Cursor's Composer is literally going to save you hours. If you need true codebase-wide context where the AI actually understands how all your files connect, Cursor is the clear winner. Ultimately, if you value raw speed and workflow efficiency over having the absolute maximum breadth of traditional editor extensions, Cursor is going to dramatically benefit your daily shipping speeds.
At the end of the day, both of these tools are phenomenal pieces of engineering. But here is my challenge to you. The only benchmark that truly matters is your own workflow. Cursor imports your VS Code setup in literally one click. So try both tools for a week. Use their free tiers. Time your own tasks. Do a heavy refactor in Cursor. Do a PR review in Copilot. Find out for yourself which one makes you ship faster. Thanks for joining me.